Good morning. I'm Gregory Mason, and welcome to First Presbyterian Church for Olympia Brown Unitarian Universalist Church's service. We're going to start with some announcements, and Diane is up first.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I'm Diane Lang. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am so happy to be here this morning. And John Lewis is so happy to be with us here in spirit. Maya Angelou, a poet and a novelist, wrote that a wise woman wishes to be no one's enemy, and a wise woman refuses to be anyone's victim. Democracy is an invitation to build a new world together. I stand before you this morning because we have had some huge changes in our presidential election since I was up here last Sunday. There's been a swelling of interest and excitement, and many of us have been working for months, and we're going to look forward to more of you joining us with the work ahead. Our Side with Love, UU the Vote invites you to join us after the service to celebrate all the work that has been done. Ice cream and lactose-free treats will be available. And we have an updated picture board that many of you will recognize your faces from participating in our phone banking, our letter writing, our postcards, hosting fun parties, tabling, marching, serving youth breakfast who are activists in our community. Thank you to all. Please join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. The church office is closed during the month of July, and there will be no weekly news sent out in July and August. In the meantime, church announcements can be sent to me, my emails in the Sunday morning email. Bill Garvey and Mary Graham are available to be contacted with urgent congregational needs while the office is closed. We are happy to have Alex Pointer again from Bradford doing our service music for us this week. And thank you to our volunteers today. I've got a long list to share with you. The Facilities Task Force, Andrea Bumpers, Lee Roberts, Tricia Lewis, Bill Garvey, Steve Lyon, Jeff Ciuta, and Addison Tower. And Addison is also helping me up on the camera right now while I'm down here. Our ushers, Sandy Berezowitz and Brana Woolman. Our Zoom host, Anita Miller. Our coffee hour hosts, the 8th Principal Committee. Our special music musicians doing double duty today, Bill Garvey and Steve Lyon, and Addison on the camera. Please join us for coffee hour in Erman Hall following the service. For those joining us on YouTube, log into Zoom after the service for your coffee hour. The link is in today's email.
Have you seen the old man in the closed down market, kicking up the papers with his worn out shoes? In his eyes you see no pride, and there, loosely at his side, yesterday's papers telling yesterday's news. So how can you tell me that you're lonely, and you say for you the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London. I'll show you something to make you change your mind. Have you seen the old gal who walks the streets of London? Dirt in her hair and her clothes in rags. She's no time for talking, she just keeps right on walking, carrying her home into carrier bags. So how can you tell me that you're lonely and you say for you the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London. I'll show you something to make you change your mind. In the all-night cafe at 11:15, the same old man sitting there on his own, looking at the world over the rim of his teacup. Each tea lasts an hour, then he wanders home alone. So how can you tell me that you're lonely and you say for you the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London. I'll show you something to make you change your mind. Have you seen the old man outside the seaman's mission? Memories fading with the metal ribbons that he wears. In our winter city, the rain cries a little pity for one more forgotten hero and a world that doesn't care. So how can you tell me that you're lonely and you say for you the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London. I'll show you something to make you change your mind. So how can you tell me that you're mourning and you say for you the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London. I'll show you something to make you change your mind.
Good morning and welcome. Welcome to Olympia Brown Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Stephen Lyon, a member of the Facilities Task Force. As we gather, we remember that our mission as a church is to be a community of hope, one that challenges us to transform ourselves, promote love and justice, respect all faiths, and shepherd our planet. Together, we journey toward wholeness. By working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community, let us all claim and celebrate the promise of our UU faith, that all of who we are is welcome in this co-created, sacred space, both in person and online.
On Sunday mornings, we light our chalice to bring the light of Unitarian Universalism to our lives. This morning, Lyra will be lighting our chalice for us. And as we light the chalice, we think about these words from Edward Teller. When you come to the end of all of the light that you know, and it's time to step into the darkness of the unknown. Faith is knowing that one of two things shall happen. Either you'll be given something to stand on, or you'll be taught to fly. Thank you, Lyra. And now, please rise in body and spirit to join our first hymn, which Alex will play through on the piano once, and you're welcome to join in afterwards. That hymn is Morning Has Come in the Teal Hymnal, number 1000. Easy to find, it's the first one.
The theme of today's service is change. OBUUC has been caught up in a whirlwind of successive changes for many years now. We saw our very long-term minister retire, to be followed by 2 interim ministers and a settled minister who stayed with us for 3 years. We lived through a pandemic that caused us to avoid in-person services or gatherings for over a year. And then we were forced out of our building by a malfunction that caused grievous injury to our DRE and rendered our building non-accessible to anyone with mobility issues. We are grateful to First Presbyterian Church for having welcomed us so warmly and generously, giving us a place to be together while we decide our next move. The Facilities Task Force is charged with identifying and exploring the different possible kinds of facilities which our congregation could choose to have as our home for the foreseeable future. Any of the choices, including moving back into our building at 625 College Avenue, would involve change of some kind. We have learned that living through one change does not necessarily make the next one any easier to manage, practically, physically, or emotionally. In this service, the members of the task force will share how this change is affecting us and how we hope to move together toward the future. Now it is time for the message for all ages. We invite all those who are young or young at heart to join us up front for a story.
So today, I'm going to read the story called 10 Beautiful Things by Molly Beth Griffin. Lily ran her finger across the Iowa map. An X marks Graham's house on an empty patch of land, Lily's new home. Graham's car tires hummed against the pavement, and Lily felt the vibration in her hollow chest. Let's try to find 10 beautiful things along the way, Graham said. Lily turned her eyes to the window. There's nothing beautiful here, she said. She struggled to fold the map so it nestled itself just right. You'd be surprised, Graham said. And sure enough, at that very moment, the sun broke over the long horizon. Lily gasped. There's number 1, she cried. Right you are, Lily, said Graham. Fence posts rushed past. Graham flipped on the radio, trying to fill the silence. Lily felt the complaints starting in her belly again, coming up her throat and nearly out her mouth. But then Graham shouted, "Number 2!" A wind farm had sprouted in the field beside the freeway, spinning windmill blades gleaming in the morning sun. Lily concentrating on the game and found number 3 really fast, a red-winged bird perched on a swaying stalk of last year's corn. It was dark and bright all at once, its beak wide open in a song they couldn't hear. Later, Graham signaled and turned the car onto a smaller road. 2 more highways to go, she said. Lily popped a handful of crackers into her mouth, but food didn't fill up her hollow places. Graham cracked her window, and in rushed air and sound and cold. They crossed a bridge, and Graham chose number 4, the gurgly sound of a melting creek. Lily dozed off. She woke when Graham tapped her knee and pointed out a falling apart barn. That's not pretty, Lily said. That can't count. We're not looking for pretty. We want beautiful, Graham said, so it stood halfway to 10. At a rest area, Lily bounced out of the car while Graham stretched her creaky body. Lily picked number 6, the smell of mud, she said, inhaling. Graham shut her eyes and nodded slowly. It's earthy and rich, she said. I've never really noticed. Lily breathed in the mud smell and focused on just that. It poured itself into some of the empty spaces inside of her. Back on the road again, the car seemed smaller. The humming in Lily had stopped, but her legs wanted to sprawl and her stomach was getting queasy. We're on a roll now, Graham said, and she was right about that. 7 and 8 were easy, a cloud shaped like a swan, and a little brown calf that trotted beside the fence. Miles and miles later, they turned onto their last road, and the clouds began to draw close. The sky drew dark, the earth rumbled. Suddenly, the air exploded in bright flashes, cloud banks trading lightning back and forth, showing off. Number 9, Lily whispered. There was no room for more words. The storm took up the whole world, and it filled Lily up too. She was here with Graham, and for a whole minute, that was all that mattered. On they drove, almost there, not far now. When they'd been almost there for a long time, Graham braked. I missed one, huh? Graham braked, eased the car down a crumbling driveway and parked in front of the farmhouse. Here we be, she said, through the drum of the rain, home. But we only made it to 9, Lily said, slumping in her seat. Nope, 10 easy. Graham came around with an umbrella, and Lily stepped out of the car. We're 10, said Graham. Lily sank into her familiar hug. None of this was easy. Maybe it would never be easy. But she belonged with Graham now. She belonged here now. So now it's time for the children's blessing. Oh. We are blessed. We are blessed by being. We are blessed by being here. We are blessed by being here together.
The title of today's service is Finding Our Way Home. The theme of today's service is change, and the service is being presented by the Facilities Task Force. Later this year, the congregation will vote on how we will be defining home for ourselves in the foreseeable future, what kind of facility we will be housed in. One of our choices, perhaps the most emotionally charged one, will be to return to the building that has been our congregation's home since 1895. That, in turn, means making repairs and updates to that building. I don't know, and therefore cannot say exactly what those changes would be, just that some changes will be required to make the building safe for our use and accessible to all. There is danger in enshrining in our memories an exact image of how our church looked when we left it. The way it was then is not the way it should be or the way it has always been. The purpose of my reflection is to give you a quick trip through the history of 625 College Avenue, so you will know that over the years, the inside and outside of our building has been through many changes. The first change came almost immediately, incredibly fast. Almost exactly 9 months after the building was dedicated on January 3rd, 1895, the congregation voted to expand it to the south and east. That expansion resulted in the church exterior that sits there now. So it was less than a year old and they already made changes. If you had entered the building when it was new, it would not look as it does now. At least some of the stained glass windows were not yet in place, including the Good Shepherd window, which was installed in 1896. In fact, the last window to be installed was the flaming chalice window that is over the front doors, and that came in 1983. Also missing from the church when it opened was the organ, which was donated in 1903, almost 10 years after the church was built. Until 1998, when the church rented office space at 324 6th Street, all the church offices were in the building. They were in the basement until 1961, when the minister's office moved to the tower room. At the same time, a workroom and a secretarial office were built at the back of the sanctuary. The next year, the congregation voted to move coffee hour from the basement to the sanctuary, which meant removing all the pews from the rear of the church to make room. A few years later, a new minister moved his office out of the tower to the back of the sanctuary, partitioning off some of the social area. The basement, as we remember it, is the result of a remodeling project in 1982. The lift that made the building more handicap accessible was installed in 1999. The cabinetry on the west wall of the back of the church was built in 2001. The artwork in the coffee hour area, showing symbols of the great world religions, was installed in 2007, and the TV up front was installed only a few years ago. In addition to all this, there have been changes to how the building is heated, cooled, and lighted. Audio and video technologies have been introduced and upgraded. The 129-year history of the church building at 625 College Avenue is one of continuous physical change, reflecting changing times, priorities, technology, and the needs of the congregation. If the congregation votes to return to that building, it will mean more physical changes. The building is not, and never has been, preserved in amber, nor should it be. Change is the only constant.
There are many ways we give to the life of our church, and the monetary offering is just one of these ways. Each month, we partner with a local organization and share the money we collect. Our partner for July is the Journey Disaster Response Team. Since 2007, the Journey Disaster Response Team has followed its goal of recruiting, training, and deploying teams of volunteers using their skills and talents to serve the community in times of need. They were a prominent supplier of food for OBUUC's free pantry for years until forced to close their warehouse due to financial issues. They have helped us serve the people of our church's neighborhood. Now is our turn to help them. For all the ways that you can donate, please see the Sunday service reminder email.
At our annual meeting, June, our former co-president Corey Mason gave a little chronology of this church, and he repeated the theme or the phrase, "We're still here." After wars and civil rights movements, and he kept coming back to the theme of "We're still here." And this song came to my mind, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since then. So thank you, John Hartford. Trains are running towards each other. Shotguns are pointed at my head. Tornado clouds are forming o'er the crossroads, and H-bombs are falling toward my bed, but I'm still here. I'm still here. How about that? Well, my city may be falling, but I'm still here. The assassination squad has got their orders. Repossession man is on his way. The landlady's given me a notice. I'll be pitched right in the trash now any day, but I'm still here. I'm still here. Now how about that? Well, I may have lost my lunchbox, but I'm still here. Moths ate my shirt and my breeches, and they're working on my hat, but I don't care. And I ain't had a meal since the fire went out, and all you do is stand around and stare, but I'm still here. I'm still here. Now how about that? Well, I may not hear you laughing, but I'm still here. Well, I may not hear you laughing, but I'm still here. I'm still here. We're still here. We are still here. Morning, I'm Addison Tower, a member of your Facilities Task Force, and I'm going to share some reflections on being a lifer at 625 College. My mom, Sharon Petrock, of the purple hair, started attending our church in the early 70s after attending a wedding here and enjoying how personalized it was rather than reading from the same old script. My earliest memories are of using the little pencils to doodle on the little pew cards during services. I remember the minister at that time not catching the imagination of a 6-year-old, 5-year-old. That changed shortly thereafter. I remember being fascinated by the magical little man who could make the organ do magical things. That was Everett Kuiper, our organist for many years. Sometimes he would press the keys and some other keys would press down without him pressing on them. How did he do that? Magical. To a 6-year-old at the time. I was dedicated in our church. My sister and brother and I attended RE for most of our childhood. Some of you here taught those RE classes. Our UU teen group was called Liberal Religious Youth, or LRY. I remember regional sleep-ins where youths from other churches nearby would gather and lay out our sleeping bags right on the floor of the sanctuary. Betsy and I were married in our church by Tony in 1989. I was in the Air Force for 24 years and got to attend many other UU churches. We always came back for Christmas to see who Tony would be this time. At the end of my career, I felt the ever-present pull homewards. Employment opportunities prevented an actual return to Racine, but were close enough to make the trip on Sundays. We brought our kids up in UU, and some of you here taught their RE classes. I served on the Board of Trustees for a bit. I was president when Tony left and was a member of the Ministerial Search Committee that recommended Reverend Danielle to the congregation. I have 50-plus years of memories in our church building, singing in children's choir, participating in services with Tony as a youth, the mistletoe overhead, the rainbow connection, always knowing where the pavows were when we were singing a hymn. We always knew the melody because we could just follow them. I've attended too many memorial services there, and some of the windows have special meaning for me. The wheat window reminds me of the crazy curly hair of my sister Melanie, whom we lost to suicide in 2001. And the forget-me-not window reminds me of my grandmother, Nona Williams, who attended regularly with us and loved flowers. All that said, I want a space where we can achieve our vision. And I also want us to grow an idea which is not stated in our vision. I think there are lots of people out there who want what we have and don't know we're here. I serve on the Facilities Task Force to explore all of the options we have available to us. We're gathering information that will help you, the congregation, decide the best choice for our future. Whether that choice is to stay at 625 College or go somewhere new, I'll be right there with you all for the next 50 years. I know that the people are the church, and the building is just a thing. Part of being in community is sharing our joys and our sorrows with one another. We do that in many different ways. Sometimes we share them out loud, sometimes we light candles, sometimes we share in a completely different ritual. This morning we're going to light candles while Alex shares some music with us. All who have a joy or sorrow are invited to come forward at this time.
and light a candle. We light one final candle for the joys and sorrows that are on the hearts of our beloveds joining us online. All are invited to join in singing, "There is a love holding me, there is a love holding us."
Good morning. My name is Lee Roberts. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I've been a member of Olympia Brown for about 30 years. And I'd like to share with you my thoughts about what being a UU means to me. When I was a young child growing up in New Jersey, my parents joined a small group of like-minded families who wanted the freedom to choose their own religious beliefs. Originally known as the Unitarian Fellowship of New Brunswick, it was formed in 1955 as part of a fellowship movement sponsored by the UUA to expand its reach. They started out meeting in the local YWCA, and by the time my family joined the fellowship, it had moved into a new home in an elementary school. In its first year, the fellowship worked on its Board of Union, which is like our covenant, and by 1959 was able to purchase 5.9 acres of land for its own building. The following year, it called its first minister and hired an architect to design the building, which it moved into 4 years later. My father was very active in the church and involved in the decisions surrounding the church's vision for its new home, and I remember both the excitement and the many frustrations he and others expressed as the congregation made its way through the whole process of building it. I loved that church. The building had a beautifully modern, award-winning design of telescoping pentagons that curved slightly. It looked like a large sculpture nestled in the woods of what was then rural New Jersey. And we drove 45 minutes each Sunday to attend services there because there was no closer Unitarian church. We'd make the trip again for meetings, LRY, which as Addison explained was the youth groups were called then, and social functions. The congregation, now called the Unitarian Society, was such an important part of my family's life, and the building still holds many wonderful memories for me, including my wedding day. Yet, when I moved to Wisconsin, I had to leave that church behind. I was a 17-year-old college freshman who knew nobody in Milwaukee when I moved there. And one of the things that made me immediately feel at home in my new state was the discovery of not just one, but 2 UU churches in the Milwaukee area. And later, when I moved to Racine, I was pleasantly amazed to find one here as well. Just knowing that there was a place where I'd always be welcome, my beliefs and ideas would be accepted, made me feel at home. While OBUUC's historic building was a very different atmosphere than the church I grew up in, I soon came to love it as much as I did my original church. At OBUUC, we sat in pews rather than the chairs that I sat in growing up. Light came into the sanctuary through stained glass windows instead of the geometric skylights of my other church, and here I learned whole new chapters of UU history, explored many new ideas and thoughts, met many new people, and was very grateful that my children were able to be so involved in this chapter of my UU life. After all, what I really love and cherish about any of the UU church that have been in my life is the community within the building and its principles. Church, to me and my family, is so much more than the space we meet in. I think the UUA expresses my feelings well when it describes our faith as an open-minded, open-hearted spiritual communities helping people lead lives of justice, love, learning, and hope. And I not only hope, but I truly believe that if we, the congregation of Olympia Brown UU Church, work together, we will find a place and a way to gather that will be a spiritual home not only for us, but for anyone who wants to join us in our search for truth and meaning.
Thank you, Lee. And before we hear from Tricia, we'll have a reading from Maya Angelou. I have a great respect for the past. If you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you're going. I have respect for the past, but I'm a person of the moment. I'm here, and I'm going to do my best to be completely centered at the place I'm at. Then I go forward to the next place. Tricia.
Good morning. My name is Tricia Lewis. My pronouns are she, hers. And I'm going to be reading a reflection called Looking to the Future. So my son had just turned 6 years old when the COVID-19 pandemic shut down the schools. He was issued a Chromebook device to do virtual school. And this was the first time he had ever seen this. He thought it was a vending machine. and he asked me what it was going to give him. He had never seen either this or the item it depicts before, since nothing like that had ever come up in the life of a kindergartner up to that point. I told him it meant saving the project for later. He then thought it was a closet. So I had to explain to him what a floppy disk was. I don't own any anymore, but I found some pictures online, and we had a funny conversation about technology in the 90s and the early 2000s. The whole interaction was really cute, I assure you. But my kids don't really need to know how to use a floppy disk, right? It's far more important that these kids know about flash drives, or more likely, cloud storage. My son will graduate high school, if all goes according to plan, in 2032. I hope they have technology like this, right? I've been promised this since Back to the Future 2. Hasn't happened yet. Not holding my breath. All I know is that I'm not preparing him to enter the world of the 80s or 90s. We're in 2024, and the world is constantly changing and progressing. We have seen things become commonplace that we didn't even consider possible decades ago. I'm looking forward to what becomes possible next. But this is really important to us as UUs as well. We as a church are in the midst of making a huge decision for our future. This isn't a decision for the past, because we can't go backwards. Where do we want to go in the future? What do we envision for 2025, 2055, 2095? I can't fathom what the world might look like then, but it's not going to look like it used to. And that's brilliant, right? I don't want to attend a church that's perfect for 1994 or even 2014. I want to attend a church that's constantly looking forward to what we can be. I might not be around to see it. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed to any of us. But a Greek proverb states, "A society grows great when old people plant trees in whose shade they will never sit." I may be around to enjoy it. I could see what the next half century brings for OBUUC. I probably won't see the church in 2095, but my children can, and their children can, and the new members drawn to our rich and vibrant church community can. I want to be part of building a church that my children and their peers are enthusiastic to join when they come of age. I want to build a community that we'd be proud to invite our friends and neighbors into, a truly multicultural congregation that is not just welcoming of difference, but intentionally built on a foundation of diversity. A safe and open environment where people can be their authentic selves, no matter who they love or how they experience and express gender, where no one type of person or family is seen as default or normal. A church home where everyone is valued as essential for our gatherings, regardless of their mobility aids, hearing loss, visual impairment, learning disability, sensory needs, or other supports. Where we couldn't even conceive of having service or a meeting or event if everyone who wanted to attend wasn't able to do so. I don't think I'm alone. Many of these feelings were echoed in the cottage meeting responses and in conversations I've had with fellow UUs. Where we choose to gather as a church community is one embodiment of these ideals. When we approach a building, we can see the priorities and values of the people who built it and who chose it. I recently attended a wedding at a beautiful venue with a wide, grand staircase covered in gorgeous white flowers. The guests using walkers, however, had to enter around the back and use the service elevator into the loading dock, entering the reception through the kitchen. In contrast, I also attended an event a few years ago where the main entrance was the accessible entrance. All guests entered through the same door, then they chose either stairs or the lift. We all got the same experience. No one pointed it out or had to talk about it, but the choice of venue showed the priorities of the hosts. And the physical space we choose to use sends a clear message about who we are. We're in a unique position to decide what we want that message to be going forward. I deeply appreciate the work that has already been done by thousands of Racine UUs stretching back hundreds of years. I would venture that most of them did the hard work with their eyes to the future, in the hopes of moving the church in Racine, Wisconsin, the country, and the world into a more loving and interconnected state of being. I want my children, my future self, and all of our future UU members of all ages to look back at this critical point in our church history and be grateful that we did all that we could do to set them up for success. Thank you. Excuse me. Please rise in body and spirit for our next hymn. Alex, our keyboardist, will play it through once, then we will all join in. It's the Ceaseless Flow of Endless Time, number 350 in the gray hymnal.
As we draw to the end of our service today, we extinguish the chalice, but not the fire in our hearts. The service is ended, but our service continues. We close this service with words of Rebecca Del Rio. Come new to this day. Remove the rigid overcoat of experience, the notion of knowing, the beliefs that cloud your vision. Leave behind the stories of your life, spit out the sour taste of unmet expectation. Let the stale scent of what-ifs waft back into the swamp of your useless fears. Arrive curious, without the armor of certainty, without the plans and planned results of your life you've imagined. Live the life that chooses you, new every breath, every blink of your astonished eyes. Please remain seated for our postlude with Bill and Stephen.
Come down off your throne and leave your body alone. Somebody must change. You are the reason I waited so long. Somebody holds the key. Well, I'm near the end and I just ain't got the time. No time to waste and we're finding our way home. Come down off off your throne and leave your body alone. Somebody holds the key. You are the reason I waited all these years. Somebody must change. Well, I'm near the end and I just ain't got the time. No time to waste and we're finding our way home. Well, I'm near the end and I just ain't got the time. No time to waste as we're finding our way home. Well, I'm near the end and I just ain't got the time. No time to waste and we're finding our way home.